to another episode of What's Going On in Japan Tech Market Podcast. Today's podcast is very special because today's topic is special, how to build a successful engineering manager or leadership career in Japan. And I have two very special guests, Bon, who is an engineering manager at a double unicorn, and Peter, who's serving as a CIO at Japan, US Japan Navy. So welcome, guys. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you
so much. Yeah, appreciate it, AP. Appreciate the invitation.
Thank you. Thank you. So would you like to kindly introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and go first and then pass it to Bon. But I'm Peter Guo. I'm the Chief Information Officer for the U.S. Navy Ship Repair Facility out here in Japan. We're actually out of Yokosuka, Sasebo, and soon to be Singapore as well. But it's a fun opportunity to kind of manage and oversee the entire network for our personnel out here.
Great. How about you, Bon?
My name is Bon. I just joined a company in Japan that most of the time is like handling the news, load from outside from news, and a lot of advertisement. And before that, I spent a lot of time in finance sector or banking. Myself from Hong Kong, I've been in Japan for 4 years. And yeah, correct to know this session is in English because I cannot speak Japanese.
Oh, it will be full in English. So yeah, I mean, I'm very excited because you guys, I think both of you guys are coming from different places in Japan, and maybe Bon, you mentioned you don't speak also Japan, but how has been your career as an engineering manager or a leadership role in Japan so far? Maybe Bon can tell.
Yeah, for myself, it's good because one is to start with that I moved with my earlier company, which is an investment bank. I take an internal relocation, and as you can imagine, the inside investment bank English as a primary language, so it is easy for me to survive in the workplace. I tried to learn Japanese because actually we have quite some Japanese people in the workplace, but they know you don't speak, so they don't bother to spend time with you on Japanese. They just go ahead with English with you. And then after I moved out of the company and I tried to explore my opportunity here, of course, there will be some disadvantages because the local languages, but also on the flip side is that because you don't speak Japanese, then the hunter know the local company is not your area of focus, then they will be easier to find, English speaking company. And that also means that those company, the senior leadership come from outside of Japan as well. And people may know that Japanese people and non-Japanese people, the culture, the mentality will be a bit different. So it may be a benefit for myself that go into a company have a Western culture, but also at the same time, for the long run, I know that myself should have more exposure to the local work culture and style as well.
So how's things looking with you, Peter?
No, that is an incredible answer, Bon. I don't think I can top that at all. But I'll try. I mean, honestly, just from the get-go, I mean, being a CIO for one of the largest overseas Navy networks it's been super fast-paced, exciting, and also at the same time extremely fulfilling experience so far. So, I mean, I guess, like I said earlier, I'm kind of lucky to be in this position this early on in my career. But it's an awesome opportunity to kind of be in a unique environment, both in I've always worked in the US, and I mean, there are international people there, but there aren't necessarily different cultures because I guess the US culture kind of dominates. But being flipped that upside down, being in Japan now, respecting the local culture, half my workforce is Japanese as well. Half of them are also US employees, government employees, as well as contractors. It's about really managing the expectations and having to approach situations in a dynamic environment, because one thing that you might say to a Japanese person might come across as brash, but just might be direct in what a US person wants and vice versa. So it's definitely a fun role because it's a little bit of a step back from a technical role that I used to be in, and then more about implementation of strategy, executive management, building teams, empowerment, and kind of focusing on the people problems and the politics as well, while kind of focusing on risk, cybersecurity stuff. So it's been a good ride.
I see. So you mentioned that you moved from the technical area to the management side. So what made you choose that? Because I think many engineers, they really would like to be in the technical side, right? They don't want to do management or risk management.
if I had $1 for every time I told a developer, hey, do you want to be a manager? And they said, no, I do not want to deal with other people's problems, I would be a millionaire right now. So, like, seriously. So, but I mean, I was in a unique situation. I mean, for those, well, I guess you guys don't know as well, I used to be active duty Navy for the US military. I served for 10 years. But early on in my career, I realized that I really wanted to pursue that like technical management role. So like coming from that military background, right after I graduated college, I served on a ship and I was actually managing electricians, around 17 electricians. I knew nothing about electrical engineering at all, but they were like, hey, we need a manager here. I think you're going to be a good job. Here's an electrical engineering book. Enjoy. So I spent like the first like couple like 8 months pretty much kind of rolling up my sleeves, getting next to each of my team members and really learning the ins and outs of like electrical engineering until I could kind of realize like, hey, I kind of know what this problem is. I can troubleshoot this myself. But my role wasn't necessarily to be like that subject matter expert of like fixing problems and like doing it myself, but it was more of like understanding like the vision and mission that our commanding officer, which is equivalent to the CEO, had set and said, hey, we need to do this because we need to be here in the next 6 months. And then we take that and translate those functional requirements down to those technical requirements and help us be able to translate that down to our electricians, our technical people. So having that technical background really helped me understand like the scope out, like the level of work that we needed to accomplish and to meet that goal at a real, and I emphasize on this, a sustainable pace. And the only reason I say that is because IT is dynamic, challenging, and very aggressive when it comes to pace. So it's a marathon, it's a sprint marathon, but just finding that sustainable pace can keep your people from burning out. So that management style of that I had that I really grew passionate about, I really wanted to pursue that a little bit more. And then also focus on the strategy of translating those functional requirements, business requirements to technical, and then back up to my CEO as like, hey, here's a risk. Here's what we can do. We should pivot or we should continue to press on.
So Bon, like I think Peter touched a lot about the management style. So how's your management style, and how's your day-to-day like look like as an engineering manager?
Yeah, from Peter's word, I just learned I should do the same as well to anyone. Okay, do you want or do you not want to be a manager? And I get $1 from them. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I will be a millionaire as well, because it has almost the same conversation with some of my engineers recently about, okay, why you are already a senior engineer there, what is your career move? Are you looking into like to be more having on the project or the people management? Everyone say no to me. Yeah, everyone say, okay, people is trouble, user is trouble. I do not want to touch that. They want to stay in the comfort zone, dealing with IT or engineering problem. Yeah, and you asked me about how my day-to-day work to be as a manager. I spend most of the time, I would say like more than half of time is in different meetings, meetings with my lower level people, not really lower, but peer and lower level people to understand what they need, what is the current challenges, and how can I participate and help everyone, and to hear about what they want to do in the near future, even like in a career. So that is part of my job. And then the other time, the meeting will involve the senior level is like what's the direction from the company, what's the expectation, setting up the plan, and also checking out how the status of everything going. So from what I understand is that the more senior you are, you spend more time on talking, and that is the thing that the engineer do not understand. They expect that when you have a senior title, that means you are very good, just as Peter has mentioned, that they expect you are very good at something, what they are doing. You are better than that, but they don't expect management means putting people or different things or resources together. Doesn't mean you have to be like do the hands-on work, but you have to have a stepping or standing at a high level, oversee how things organize and work together. So I believe there is quite some misconception from the people that before they are manager. Yeah. And to me, I like this kind of thing, or like this kind of work, because like since I would say early in my career, I realized myself that one is, of course, the whole my career is like involved in the engineering and also on the software engineering in particular. And we're doing we building software because for people to use. So you cannot avoid from like stay away from people, because at the end, if you build something no one uses, then what's the point of it? So it's just about how your interaction with the user is like engineer to user, or you're like at the PM or project manager or people manager. So to me, I find the interaction with people is more interesting than the software itself, because software is like robot. We know that you create something correct, it just work that way. I mastered, I should say I learned it when I was in college, but then I find, okay, how can I make people happy with all, what I can build is another level that I feel joy and achievement in my career. And then the next level is that, how about if I can put engineer together to do something big? Because in the old days that a single engineer can be like an architect or a designer, that is great because we didn't have intellect, so you rely on his experience and knowledge. But now that everyone is more equipped with that information, so we know that we have to put more people together in order to get something bigger to be done. It is not an individual contributor, but a teamwork. So I find myself, I really enjoy putting different people together, try to push everyone to their limit, recognize a new limit, and also deliver things, bigger things together. That is how I find my sense of achievement coming from my daily work.
Awesome. Do you also touch, great one. Do you also touch the P&L? I think you like touch a lot about like deliverables. So maybe it comes from the CTO or from the company's direction, but do you often also touch the profit and loss of the company? Or
not exactly a P&L, but from time to time I touch money related issues. For example, the budgets, and also like the bonus, salary review, and also the cost. Yeah, so not from my pocket. It doesn't hurt me, but I have to give a very reasonable advice and also oversee or control how we spend money. Yeah.
Yeah. How I think Peter has to do with P&L, or maybe no, exactly.
I do, and that's the only answer I can give. But specifically on that, definitely what Bond said as well, like those peer reviews, bonuses, things like that. It's something to really celebrate people's achievements, and I think that's an incredible thing to do. Whether their motivation is to get that next paycheck or whatnot, or to have a sense of fulfillment of I learned something new or accomplished something. I mean, whatever it is, like that's our role to identify that and really like hone in on it and make sure that they're satisfied. So.
Perfect. Yeah. So talking about money now, the next question is like, what qualities, you look while hiring engineering talents in Japan?
Okay, I can go first this time. Sure. Hiring talent in Japan, I guess in Japan it's very interesting. I work with people from different locations. I mean, when I'm here or even when I was in Hong Kong, people most of people from Asia or like even in Europe or America. So I see that the people in Japan, they're pretty like into two camps. One is the Japanese people. They are not that do not like to, they're a bit more shy. Even though they're very talented, they're more shy. They do not want to express their idea or feeling. Yeah, okay. So it is difficult for anyone that you, as an interviewer, that you try to take something, good attribute or properties from a candidate if he or she is a Japanese. Yeah. And then from the other side is that the local foreigners, I think they very well know about, okay, what is the advantage, and they know how they can like take advantage of like over the local people. So they're like more expressive, like to talk about themselves because they know, okay, that's the way they can show off in an interview. But to me, I find a couple of things. One is that I have to make sure that the person really know very well what they are doing, because some of the engineer or developer, they're being instructed about what they should do day by day. They may not know exact reason, also what is the impact of their work. So I try to find out that an individual know very well what they are doing and the reason behind it. And then the second is that I look into someone that who know about what they themselves they want. Okay, so for example, a typical question for myself during the interview is that, okay, if you are the manager, if you are the one can control everything, then how will you improve or change the system? I expect someone that always have an insight about how to get things done in a better way, even though he's still a junior, because I suppose everyone has some kind of like imagination or like improvement expectation that you can always like share with your peer or during interview. And then the last part is that I expect someone have a good mentality. Yeah, because allow me to say software engineer is the most unreliable engineer in the world, because if you imagine that if there's a problem with the software, and most of the time the software engineer will say, okay, just restart it, just reboot it. Yeah. But I cannot imagine someone do a car engineering will tell you, oh, restart the car, because in the middle of highway, you do not expect something will go wrong. But in the software side, that we have the privileges to do it that way. So I in the interview, I really make sure that people have a good mentality, that you know what you're doing. Okay, you may not be able to kill people with that, but you have to make sure that quality is important things, and also communication about what you do good or bad is a way to improve. So I look into those attributes in when I'm having an interview. Yeah.
For Peter, what would you like to add? I mean, you can also touch about the non-technical people. For example, if you're interviewing any PM or BAs or product managers, what qualities do you look for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So not really down in like the engineering manager world, but from the CIO level, I'm covering the categories off the top of my head. I'm hiring people like network engineering, sysadmin personnel. I'm also hiring their managers as well. Then moving over to the cybersecurity division, we're doing pen testers and also like blue team kind of defenders as well, and cybersecurity policy personnel, all the way to my application developers, i.e. what I used to be, and then moving over to my help desk personnel, and then kind of like the ITSM hardware troubleshooting kind of people. So it's very difficult to have like a technical criteria for all of them, especially being in the government. I hate to say, like Bon said earlier before this, we had this conversation, like him coming from the finance sector, me coming from the government sector, there's so many different rules, policies, and things that are absolutely different. I don't expect someone to know from that technical standpoint of what they actually need to build, or what they can actually in the realm that they can create and put into production because of the unique requirements that we have within the government. So kind of baselining, I actually look for values across other individuals, especially when building team of teams. So my previous job at this company called Immuta, they do data access control for the DoD, but also pretty much the entire world at this point. They had the most incredible culture, and I'm huge on lessons learned, kind of like how Bon touched about product management, receiving feedback. Culture is definitely big. So I hate to say, like when I moved to my CIO position here, the first thing I wrote down was values, and that's what I told everybody. This is what I look for in personnel. Immuta, initially, when I had my interview with them, there weren't many technical questions, but they hired me because they understood that technology is always changing and requires us to continually learn. But if you had and possessed these core values, they believe that you would be absolutely successful in whatever role you were hired to be. Obviously, you needed some experience to qualify for it, but like having those, you will be able to like be self-sufficient and really grow. So, I mean, the 5 values from Immuta that I really wrote down and then also instantiated here as well, credit goes to them, is first off, mission focused, humble intellects, be willing to say you don't know something, especially during an interview. Like it's all about bragging, but if you don't know something, like that's okay. Like we don't know everything. It's technology. I don't know everything. I'm always asking questions at work. Teamwork, are they willing to, in a situation, be able to say, hey, today I'm not going to be leading this scrum. I'm going to go ahead and just be a developer and focus on this because this guy or this gal, this developer is the subject matter expert in this project and kind of can lead me through. I'm going to be a supporting team member. The next one's also independent achievers. Like will these people, like if I'm out for a couple weeks or somebody else is gone, will they go ahead and selflessly say like, hey, I'll pick up the slack, we'll go ahead and just take care of you, you do whatever you need to do, and when you're mentally ready or you've got like came back from vacation, like you'll just pick up where you're left off. And then last one is like helpfulness and grit, kind of ties into like the ones before. Like I said, technology is a sprint marathon, especially in industry. It's always like, we need to deliver this by this date. And then when you're a product manager like me, and like Bon said, it's like, how do we deliver the most value? Like it's all about how long it doesn't matter how long we take to achieve that, to make a profit. It's about how can we actually grow the number of users that we have, or find people who love the product to spend money and stuff like that. But as like a CXO, you can always know that somebody's gonna be like, okay, well, you have 2 months to get that to me. So that's kind of that grit that I like, and be like, okay, cool. Like I'm up for the challenge. Like, let's see what we can do. Let's shorten our timeline. Let's see what we can do. It's not always going to be a sprint marathon, but I think it's going to be like a sustainable pace and an ebb and flow and whatnot. But having those kind of 5 values that I look for in personnel, the people that we've recently brought on as well, like it's been incredible because it builds that culture of, hey, we want to work together to succeed. We'll cross-train each other, be cross-functional, and like learn how to be the best that we can be together collectively and independently for certifications and whatnot.
Awesome. So what has been more challenges with you guys, like hiring non-technical people like PM, BAs, or engineers like tech leads, or senior engineers per se?
Bon, go ahead.
Now your turn. I will let you do first.
Okay. I am really going to have to say it's actually, they're both very challenging. And I'll touch the non-engineering tech talents first, like your product managers and things like that. Coming from a startup and working in government as well, like it's really, really difficult to find people that are a hybrid of both. You know what I mean? So like from a marketing personnel, if you're working at a tech company, which both me and Bon do, that's very highly specialized in tech, like as a marketing person, you can't really like create a good advertisement to grab a certain user that you want to direct to if you don't understand what you're built, like what the people are building. So like it's a very high technical bar for people to like really like want to learn that product or get their hands dirty, even if they don't have like that background, but might be a subject matter expert in like marketing, product design, things like that. And then conversely, hiring engineers, I mean, like, like just look out in industry, you see the salaries just going up, 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 and keep going up. And it doesn't seem to be an end. But I think engineers are just as difficult because, like, personally, I'm competing with people like Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, and things like that. I know money isn't the driving factor for a lot of these, for all personnel, but it is for like the majority of the personnel. And that's something, as a government person, I can't compete, but there's other ways of like self-fulfillment. So I wouldn't call it bribery, but if you want to come work for me, you'll learn a lot and we'll learn together. So,
Sure.
And you get to work on really cool projects.
I'll put your link as well so that, people can reach or apply to the projects which you are working currently.
Perfect.
You say it to me as well.
I will right now.
Okay. Cool. So, okay. To me, I think both is difficult because we're talking about human here. Is really no way to have a good quantitative measurement on people. And for the engineering side that we try a lot is like, okay, you look into the resume and see if they come up with numbers. For example, I make the system run 5 or 10% faster. So many like recruiter will try to look into the number to judge the candidate is good or not, or even we put in some coding test, so they have to finish some task within like 30 minutes or something. But I'm not 100% agree to the test because in the real life you do not really work that way. You are not a hacker, right? You do not like 5 minutes to optimize an algorithm to do something. Not to mention that, do you really expect your team to like develop a new algorithm every day? That is not part of their work, but just a test. Yeah. So on the engineering side, we try to put on different way to measure people. Okay, be fair or not, but yeah, we try to do that. And then on the non-engineering side, I think it's even more difficult in the sense that similar title, for example, like sales, marketing, or product manager to different company, actually they may means a bit different. The expectation, the scope of work, and also the responsibility, and also the achievement measurement is quite different. So I always really have to look into the JD and also ask the hiring manager what exactly you're looking for in this position. Then I adjust myself to ask the related question, because it's really difficult. And not to mention that within that like an hour, you really have to make a decision that a person can join your company for like 5 or 10 years, even in Japan, that the people like to stay in a company forever. That means you use 1 hour of time to determine or make a decision someone can stay in the rest of his life in the company. So I think it's pretty challenging, and also at the same time that myself, I didn't learn, or I didn't have like interview training. If you know there's something called interview training, please let me know. I in my career, I find that it is the least trained capability in as an engineer, because no one can, go to have an interview training for a week or something. I never see anything like that. So the way of everyone doing interview is quite different. And be honest, myself, been like for myself looking for job or even representing the company, I've been like, I can't, like a couple months ago, I do more than like 350 interviews. So every time I really learn something, because the candidate is different, they may behave differently, and also the position that I'm hiring sometimes is different every time. So I have to make myself adjust and keep learning to see how can I get the best information within that hour. So to me, both is difficult because we're dealing with people.
Awesome, Bon. I think you mentioned, you touched a very interesting topic as like interviewing training, right? So maybe in the future, us as recruitment agencies, we can create an interview training bootcamp for hiring managers. That can be a value-added service.
Yes, I think so, yes.
Great. So, I realized that I think both of the areas are very tough to hire, to attract. But how do you guys retain those talents? For instance, you have hired the best people in the market. Now it's time to retain them. Headhunters are everywhere, or companies are reaching out. So, retaining.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one is that, as Peter has mentioned, the salary of the engineer keep going up without an end. So one is that the money you have to pay fairly in a sense, in alliance to your company reputation and ranking. Yeah, because if you're a big company, you pay very small, then people will feel like not fair. Okay, and also have a make a fair expectation, achievable expectation to the individual. Yeah. So if they achieve something, you have to let them know the corresponding adjustment is reasonable to that, or make sure that they know how the evaluation or performance evaluation is being done. Because honestly, everyone will feel like, I have done a lot in that last 12 months. I feel like I have done the best, but why I do not get paid? Because the fact is that it is not just your own performance, but comparing to your peer. Because everyone have really worked the best or from what they can within 12 months, but it's the outcome that have a direct impact to the compensation. And then the second thing is about give them hope on their career growth and also on what they're doing. We are not robot, so I know some job, for example, doing support or like customer service, their day-to-day work is pretty routine and repeating, but they know when they join it. Some people really like it, but for the engineer, I understand most of the engineers expect what they're doing is like keep changing, not really every day, but it's like a project or task after task, project after project. So they will do something new or learn something. And the second thing is that they will know they being appreciated about what they have done. Another appreciation is not just like the verbal as a manager, how you like let them know they've done a good job, but also like giving them better or bigger responsibility. So they will feel like, okay, my manager recognized that I'm better than before. That's why I'm being assigned a bigger task. So career responsibility adjustment and also compensation, is most of the time I use those three directions to make my guys happy. Yeah.
Great. Anything you want to add, Peter?
Yeah, no, I mean, Bond touched it very eloquently on pretty much all the topics. But coming from a different sector here, our company isn't really profits driven. What our KPIs are for the government, I guess, is like value of solving the hard problems. Like, did we solve the problem? Did we solve it right? So I guess most individuals who do join this kind of industry that I do is about wanting to, like, I guess, serve for a higher purpose and be able to accomplish a really, really hard task that will better support both, I guess, the Japan and US relationship and both governments, especially out here. So I think it's a really cool opportunity because the personnel that I have here, though we do have like our annual appraisals, the bonuses and things like that, probably a lot smaller than what Bond's talking about, a lot smaller. But I think the big thing is a lot of people are driven by personal growth. That's at least what I've seen here at within my department. So one of the big things I instantiated was like, hey, like self-fulfillment is key. Listen to my people. And I started providing 1 hour of like just personal growth training that whatever they want to do every other day to allow them to just go into like LinkedIn learning that we provide to our Japanese personnel, or plural site that I provide to my more technical folks to just learn anything within like that's work related, like IT, cybersecurity, software development. What do you want to do? Like whatever you want to do, as long as it has to do with work, and then try to apply it to work. So for example, I have a project manager right now that really wants to pick up software development. I have him taking Code Academy right now and doing some certain projects. And about like 8 months later, he's finally ready to start taking on like writing some JavaScripts or like things like that, or like working on a couple functions or just UI UX design. But it's keeping him very fulfilled. And I think that's what keeps like one of the real drivers or one of the elements that do keep people wanting to come back to work and excited for work to learn something new and be able to apply that to a project. But I do wish that I'm able to provide more compensation because my people do deserve it and they work very hard. So
yeah, I agree. Peter has touched a very good point, is that most of the people look into the growth and also sense of achievement. Yeah, at some points that it is not just about money, because I guess you heard from some people say, okay, yeah, I make money, but actually I'm not happy. I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. So people maybe just stepped into another position, even making less money, because mental or psychological fulfillment is sometimes actually is more important than money at certain point.
I'd like to go a little bit deeper to the next level. For instance, like if someone, so how do you guys kind of mentor anyone who'd like to move up to his next step of his career? Like, for example, if it's an engineering person, like how do you kind of, do the career mentoring for them?
Yeah, I guess I'll go first for this one, Bond. Touching on what Bond said earlier before, he was like, senior executives, they do most of the talking and things like that, and they kind of dominate conversations. And I've realized that through my career, like being able to lead at a young age and kind of like maturing through my iterations and learning where I'm good at and whatnot, sometimes I just talk too much. Right. So one of the things I promised myself before I got to this job was to really, especially as like an executive, like your job is to like listen to your people, figure out what they need, get their recommendations so you can make the least amount of risk decision. But you can't do that talking all day. So one of the big things, I call it as like, it's an open door policy. And mentorship goes two ways. I am not a technical subject matter expert of whatever field they're in. Also, many of my work colleagues, actually all of my work colleagues, are older than me. So they have way more life experience, whether in personal or professional life. So one of the big things that I do is like coffee chats, like 30 minutes each morning. If somebody wants to walk in and just like sit down, pour yourself coffee and like talk about whether like home life or even like their professional aspirations, yeah, like I'm there. And it gives us an opportunity to kind of kick back and relax in a professional setting, but to really get to know each other more, build that relationship. And then down the road, if there are opportunities that exist where I can like provide feedback or like growth or even a recommendation to, then I'm already ready because I know what this person does through my coffee chats. I understand them as a human being. I know all of their strengths and weaknesses, but I can highlight them in a very good way to like move them towards that next direction or provide them that advice. And then same to me, I learn a lot through pretty much like personal finances, what to do in my daily life from all of my work, like my work colleagues. And I'm very appreciative of that as well. So mentoring is a two-way street.
Yeah,
Sure. I'd like to interrupt a little bit here. So, for example, do you have any structure for that, or it's very ad hoc?
Yeah, I think in the world of mainly the government for me and being in I guess being in tech as well, there's so many rules, regulations, and policies. I personally, when it comes to like talking to somebody, I like to come as unprepared as possible. So I don't like structure because then people over, like, I guess me being a developer myself, when I initially went to interviews, like I would just overthink, start talking, go down a rabbit hole or things like that. So I tend to not have a structure when it comes to like getting to know somebody because, hey, it's a conversation. You don't know which way it's going to go. And you might actually find, you might learn more about a certain person if you just let that conversation flow instead of moving it towards the direction that you want. So that's what I like to do.
So, Bon, anything you want to add, like what career projection you provide to your engineers or your
Peter has covered most of it. And then the thing that I really agree is that the listening, because it's the most of the engineers that they're really shy about talking about what they want, what they need, or even what they expect. So listening is very important. Of course, before that, you have to like motivate and let them know it's okay to talk about what they want, even though, well, they can come to me and say, I want to be a CTO. It's fine. You can say anything you want, but from here to there, then myself and then my engineer, we can work together how we can start moving to that direction. Okay, well, I appreciate you share with me any dream. It is okay, but we can work together to see how we can go to that direction. And to me, I do not really have particular structure, but most of the time I try to start with understand everyone's comfort zone. Yeah, because that is the area they know they're safe in there. So I would try to understand the comfort zone, make a definition the area, the borderline of it, and then I try to ask, okay, what is outside the comfort zone you want to achieve, and then if they have something, actually sometimes they do not have anything. I just feel like I'm in a comfort zone. It's typical answer, and then I'll try to ask them. Okay, then if you're happy with your comfort zone, then what do you want in the 3 or 5 year time? So because like title, money, or change of life, it's some things that everyone want to change, even though you like to stay on comfort zone here. So I like to define some smaller target or goal outside our comfort zone, and then try to motivate the individual. Okay, so from here to there, so what can we do to achieve that? For example, if someone wants to be a senior engineer, so that means that you need to have a more exposure to a bigger project or more difficult task. So how can we try that? Okay, if you are not capable yet, can I arrange another senior engineer to work with you? Or someone want to be a manager, then okay, manager need to talk, need to have a presentation or defend your own idea. So can I give someone a task that he need to make a design, technical design, and then stand in front of people to have a presentation? So I try this structure most of the time on everyone in the team, and when we have one that will touch check, okay, what is the progress, what have you tried last time, and what is the things that you find missing. And I would make myself available all the time. For example, if someone in my team need to go presentation, I'll let them know I'll be there. I'll 100% be there. I'll have my microphone ready, and if anytime you call my name, I'll help you to answer anything for you if you feel stuck or anything. So having myself available all the time as having their back, supporting them is very important. And I can share one example. Is a good story. I feel very fulfilling to myself is that I have a junior engineer that he's been quite shy, and then I make him to chair the team meeting. So even I'm a manager, I say, okay, no, I do not want to chair the team meeting. I make someone to chair the team meeting. So every time I have to prepare the agenda and then ask around everyone, okay, what's everyone's have done in the week. So after 6 months time, he happy to speak more than before. That is one. And the second is I also make him to work with another senior engineer in a certain task because I know he recognize himself as junior. Then he feels very difficult when he has idea to share. So I make him to work with a buddy. And after the project, then he feel more grow up a lot because he own a single task later on, and then in the task he need help from the other people. So he make a list what he need, and then he put a name next to that, and also put a date next to this thing, and then mention it really meeting. Okay, I'm handling a project. I need this, and that, and I hope everyone in the team can help me with that. Everyone just shocked because he just like, okay, you didn't behave like that. He's very well organized in the team meeting. And then when I have a one-on-one with him, I said, I would like to tell you, I really can observe the change. What you have done in team meeting is really good. Everyone feel very amazed. It's very well organized. And of course, everyone happy to help. And then he mentioned to me, oh no, I don't feel like it's special because another senior engineer would do the same as well. I said, come on, the thing is, another one is a senior engineer. He's almost like acting manager. He should able to do it. But yourself is a junior, and then you grew up to that level that is over everyone's expectation on yourself. So to doing the same thing by yourself at your level actually is a bigger achievement compared to a senior engineer because that should be normal coming out from him. So this kind of conversation or or like mentoring or coaching, I really enjoy and happy being a manager can see the result. And also I make sure that myself share the feedback immediately to the individual as well. So they know they have done something great. So they feel more comfortable and confident to keep doing in that direction.
Maybe, can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
Bon, that was an incredible story. Seriously, in the military, we call that as servant leadership. You are the epitome of it for somebody who's a software engineer. Like, you are the true 1% of managers. So like, wow. Honestly, you're an incredible manager and a leader. No, honestly, I can hear your passion. I can feel how passionate you are about taking care of others. So in the military, we say servant leader. You are a true servant leader. Would you like to join the military? I'm just kidding. But no, that really resonated with me because it is very difficult to find somebody who's willing to roll up their sleeves and invest in others, especially in this field that's so fast-paced and gruesome. So thank you for giving back, and thank you for being selfless. All right, my full respect for that.
Thank you, Peter.
One very small question, and after that we'll go to the lightning round. So how do you do the catch up with your engineers or measure the KPIs? Is it weekly, monthly, or any style?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go. I mean, how I really like running my organization, and this was credits to my two previous jobs, was like Scrum. What that means for people is just like quick lightning round, like meetings, just to talk about what people accomplished like yesterday, or even like the week before, what they're planning to accomplish this week or today, or if they have any blockers, or whether it's personal, whether it's work related or whatnot. But I also do have the same thing with my personnel. So going back to really that like coffee chat, feedback is key. Like, it is an open door with, even if you're a brand new engineer or a brand new help desk person, whether you're a Japanese person or an American or a contractor, like, come in my office. Like, the biggest thing is, like, I don't know how I'm supposed to get better or how I'm to better support you if you don't come in and like talk openly with me. So it's not going to be a place where you come in and like complain or whatnot. It's okay to vent sometimes, but it's an opportunity for people to come in and say, hey, like, I'm struggling with this issue. I'd really like some guidance on it, and I'm more than happy to really help. One of the big things for the KPI standpoint are, I guess at my level, I'm really dealing with more of those senior managers. So going back to the values, the big thing is a lot of these senior managers are very, very technical in nature. But one thing that they could work on is kind of management. So my big focus for this year really is like, hey, the KPIs are more kind of lofty, but like, are you being forward thinking? Are you projecting like further down the road with regards to your project of, hey, when am I going to deliver, like have this deliverable ready to meet the CEO's to meet the CEO's vision? How are we going to make sure that we're coordinating with other personnel and other divisions, whether cybersecurity, engineering, or the help desk, to ensure that everybody is trained for this new product that we're about to release before we get those angry phone calls saying it doesn't work or whatnot. So the big thing is really growing the soft skills right now. And so that way, like they can take that and then also offset it with their technical background and really say, hey, like I'm ready to talk to my personnel, understand what that is, and then translate that to me or even the CEO and say, like, here's my recommendation. Here's the risks that or the blockers that I'm going to meet when I'm taking care of this. And here is like the eventual end state goal of a product that we're going to deliver. Or I make the recommendation to say, based on the data that I have, we want to pivot. But we're not quite there yet. So it's just crawl, walk, run. The big thing is working together as a team first, communication, which we can always work on, and then kind of moving forward from there. So I don't measure, for the people who are listening, I do not measure how many times you come into my office. So that is not a KPI.
Gotcha. Anything shortly you want to add, Bon?
On my side, I don't use KPI because I find it very difficult to put KPI on people. But I would like to reuse what Peter has mentioned earlier, is about the value. So we also have to do performance review. Okay, then the value is an important factor or the driver about, okay, I can write about my engineer that, okay, maybe six months ago, that is what he has delivered, that is the value of his style of working. And then 6 months now is that we see the value and impact has changed. And then of course I have to use supporting fact or the deliverable or the output of project to support my argument. So that is how I KPI my engineers. And if you talk about the one, I set up this weekly one meeting with everyone, and then I have the notes there is that say in the meeting note is that it is not about work, it is about yourself. Because I told everyone that if I want to talk to anyone about work, I can just call you up, set a meeting, talk about schedule, whatever. So the one meeting is really about yourself. So I focus on, yeah, Peter's mentioned what's a blocker, not just necessary in work, but also like in daily life. Because for example, someone may have like family change, having a baby or whatever. That is there anything that myself as a manager on behalf of the company can help an individual? And also what other things that it's like a checking about on what I mentioned about the comfort zone. Okay, do we keep moving slowly? What things that they feel not comfortable and want to make adjustment? Yeah, and two things that I always remind everyone during the 1 week is that make sure that you have your holiday plan. Yeah, because that's very important. And so someone will come to me and say they need my approval. I say, I don't approve your holiday plan. Come on, I always approve your holiday plan. Just go away, have fun. It's just like the same as your salary. You don't ask me how to spend your salary. Holiday and salary is your personal assets. You have your right to use it in any way you want. But the only thing I concern is that you really think about how to spend your holiday for your own good, or even with your family or partners. That is one. And second is, the only thing I concern is that you have a plan so the whole team know that you are going away within that period of time. So we have a good coverage that when you're not around. And that is the only thing I care about, is that the coverage when you yourself are not around. And other than that, I encourage everyone really go on with your vacation, holiday, enjoy, and come back when you feel fresh. Yeah, when you feel energized. Yeah.
Awesome. I feel like working for you guys. So this is the last part of our podcast. So I'll be asking one question to both of you guys, and you have to answer in one word, just shortly, and that's called the lightning round. Okay, are you guys ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so what one book or podcast you'd like to recommend to our viewers?
I guess
this podcast.
This podcast.
No. I mean, in general, like any books or any podcasts you'd like to recommend.
Bon, how about this? You go first. I go second for all these.
I know the question before this podcast, so I get prepared. Let me I'm not sure if you can see it on the screen.
Yeah, I can see that. We can. The rules of work.
Yeah, the rules of work. I found this book a few years ago, and then the cover is very so-so, but inside very short chapters and story, and find it's very inspiring, and it really helped myself a lot.
Okay. How about you, Peter?
Yeah, it's the book that got me really into this position and like my trajectory, The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. It's a pretty well-known book, but it's something that I take to heart. Build, measure, learn, constant feedback, building a team of teams. That's something that really has helped me out in my career.
Great. What one new thing you're learning right now?
Negotiation.
Negotiation.
Yes.
Okay.
Dang, have fun.
We're always
hard
learning.
pass. Oh. No, the big thing is I do want to get a little bit more technical. So we're moving towards a data warehouse or data-centric environment soon. So I'm brushing off my data science background, kind of AI ML, that's kind of buzzwordy, but just data science. So
Great. What one thing do you do on a Sunday morning?
Summer or winter?
Well, I think it's summer now, so maybe summer.
Summer, ride bicycle because I race on the road bike. So weekend I do training. Sunday morning, yeah, riding a bicycle. Yeah.
Peter?
yeah, like Bon said earlier as well, take the time off to really relax and re-energize yourself. So I usually do a brunch with my wife, and then we usually take a really nice long walk, whether in Tokyo or over in the Minatomirai area. So we just want to like relax, spend time with each other, spend time with family, and then just work on hobbies if we ever want to do it. So work's a sprint marathon, so don't burn out. So please take the time off that you have.
Awesome. So this is the last question of this podcast. One advice for engineers or even anybody who's listening to this podcast from you guys.
Planning, I would say. Planning is very important.
Yeah.
Things we are in the internet or very modernized technology world, and then everyone has a feeling that things can happen overnight, but it doesn't. Everything takes time, and planning is very important.
Like in life, even for a student, right? Or for someone who's getting into the professional world.
Exactly, everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I really think that planning, I just want to ad lib on that real quick, but I think that planning helps you actually like think about like the challenge or like the problem that you're about to do. And then you can be more decisive when you actually get to that point. So like when you're planning, you're actually thinking about how you're going to solve a problem or like how you're going to approach a situation. So that's actually good advice. Mine, on the other hand, kind of goes back to just learn and be curious. Like, don't be afraid you don't know something, because like I say that like probably 6 times a day. So if I'd be a billionaire if I like got paid every time I said that. And honestly, there are no dumb questions in the field of IT. So like you can only there's so many different topics. You can only go an inch, like a mile wide and inch deep, or you can go like hundreds of miles down into one subject, but the opportunities are endless. So follow and pursue your passion and dreams.
Great. Lovely. So thank you so much for your time. And yeah, really appreciate Bon and Peter. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, AB. This has been wonderful.